Dub Nation, what up? You're watching Golden State Warriors Today by Chat Sports. I am your host, Chase Senior. Coming up on today's show, looks as though Golden State officially out on Ben Simmons, perhaps also health updates on Klay Thompson and James Wiseman. Looks as though James Wiseman not going to be ready to start the season. We already knew that about Klay Thompson, but first, hit that red subscribe button down below. NBA training camp starting next week, so this is your go-to spot for all of the best Warriors coverage on the internet. All right, let's get to Ben Simmons. Do want to get you caught up on everything happening with the Simmons camp and his situation in Philadelphia. According to Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN, he reported yesterday on Tuesday that Ben Simmons is not going to report to Philadelphia 76ers training camp, and he never wants to put on a Sixers jersey ever again. But Doc Rivers went on First Take on ESPN on Wednesday morning and said, "We want Ben Simmons back. We think we can win a championship with Ben Simmons." Now, how did I take that? I think Doc Rivers is just trying to increase leverage as well as Ben Simmons' value because the Sixers haven't been able to find a trade partner for Ben Simmons out there on the trade market. Here's the reporting from Woj at length. ESPN sources Philadelphia 76ers All-Star Ben Simmons will not report for the opening of training camp next week and intends to never play another game for the franchise. Simmons hasn't spoken to the team since a late August meeting when he communicated this message to Sixers officials. He continued on by saying this: "Simmons is clearly aware of sanctions available to the organization to fine and suspend him, including the withholding of salary, but so far Simmons appears willing to carry out a plan of forcing his way out to a new team. Sixers have yet to find a trade they're willing to make for him." And according to a lot of reports out there, the Sixers did try to communicate with the Warriors about a Ben Simmons trade, and basically Bob Myers and the organization, according to those reports, laughed Daryl Morey off the phone because their asking price was far too high. Their asking price came after Ben Simmons flamed out in the second round against the Atlanta Hawks. It was a shame to see him struggling so much from a mental perspective in terms of his confidence at the free throw line and offensively. He was downright bad in this second round series against Atlanta, averaged under 10 points per game, still was able to fill the stat sheet with rebounds and assists, but he shot 33% from the free throw line. That is straight up abysmal. Those numbers from Simmons really bad, and that is what has accelerated all of these Ben Simmons trade discussions. But it looks as though Golden State is officially out on Ben Simmons. And these are rumors that we've talked about over time here on the channel because they were coming from some credible sources out there. But now let's go to the direct source, the guy who actually owns the Warriors organization, Joe Lacob. He said this recently about Simmons: "In some ways, it doesn't really fit with what we're doing. Ben Simmons makes a lot of money, and can he finish games?" I thought that was pretty telling. "I don't know," he continued on. "He's very talented. The problem is we have Draymond Green. Draymond and him are very similar in the sense that neither one really shoots, and they do a lot of the playmaking. That's one issue. The salary structure is another." Stephen A. Smith on Wednesday also saying that the Warriors have some of those similar concerns about Simmons and his fit alongside Draymond Green. Now, I do think that if the Warriors were to trade for Ben, they'd be able to make it work. Why is that? This is an organization with a lot of structure. They have a clear vision, and they have star power alongside what could be Ben Simmons and Steph Curry as well as Klay Thompson. And I think Ben Simmons would be able to play a little bit of small ball 5 because you could put Draymond Green at the 4. He could play at the top of the key. Simmons could play down low. He can be an excellent facilitator down there, hang out in the dunker spot, throw down lobs, rebound the basketball, have some putbacks as well, and his vision from anywhere on the floor is truly elite. That's one of the best qualities that he does possess. But I don't want Golden State to make this move for those reasons that Joe Lacob had talked about, but also I don't think they need him. And lastly, I don't want to stunt the growth of James Wiseman. The number 2 pick from the 2020 NBA draft displayed a lot of potential for me as a rookie. And I think his numbers weren't as good sometimes as his play actually was. And I think the arrow's pointing up for Wiseman as long as he can continue to rehabilitate that knee injury. I'm not saying that he's going to take a DeAndre Ayton-like jump. That's something that we've discussed here on the channel. I do think that over time, though, a guy who's only 20 years old is going to be able to grow and develop into a very, very good basketball player on both ends of the floor, and he does fit with this roster construction in the Bay Area. Grade Ben Simmons as a player for me. That's the duty that I want you to handle right now. A, B, C, D, or F. Be sure to get those grades in down below in the comments section. I still think Ben Simmons is a B. He's one of the best, if not the best defenders across the NBA. He can guard all 5 positions. His passing ability truly is special, as I mentioned. Shooting the basketball, though, yeah, that would probably be an F. Shout out to today's sponsor, BetUS, for making today's show possible. If you go to chatsports.com/bet and you enter the promo code CHAT125, you get a 125% deposit bonus. What that means is you put $100 into your account, you get an additional $125 back on top of that. Maybe you want to take Steph Curry at 5-1 odds to win the 2021-2022 NBA MVPs, right behind Luka Doncic. It's going to be a really fascinating MVP race because you have so many guys in the mix: Luka, Steph, Giannis, Embiid, James Harden, Kevin Durant, a whole host of other players. Get those bets in and wager on Steph because he's like a godlike figure for us. Chatsports.com/bet. Enter that promo code CHAT125. If you don't follow those steps, that deal does not apply. Next up on today's slate, some injury updates on Klay Thompson as well as James Wiseman. The organization putting out these statements, keeping us up to date as to how that progress is coming along for both Klay and Wise. First, let's get to Klay Thompson coming off that torn Achilles last year and a torn ACL before that. Organization said this: Klay Thompson, who has missed the last 2 seasons due to a torn ACL and a torn right Achilles, has made good progress during his rehabilitation over the course of the summer and is on pace to return for the 2021-2022 season. The exact time for his return this season will be based on his continued progress. Thompson, who underwent surgery on his right Achilles on November 25th, 2020, is expecting to participate in various controlled drills during training camp. That's obviously big news. His return to full practices will be determined at a later date. There was previous reporting about the Warriors hoping that Klay could come back on Christmas Day. That'd be a pretty damn good Christmas present. As for James Wiseman, organization said this. Thank you, Dubs, for all of this info, by the way. James Wiseman, who underwent successful surgery to repair a right meniscal tear on April 15th, has made good progress during rehabilitation over the course of the summer, and he, like Klay Thompson, on pace to return for the 2021-2022 season. The exact time for his return this season will be based on his continued progress. He was expected and still is expected to begin full jumping 6 months from the date of surgery, which would be October 15th. Wiseman is expected to participate in individual shooting and other individual on-court activities during training camp. His return to full practices will also be determined at a later date after October 15th. And with the Warriors tipping off the season a couple days after that against the Lakers, Wiseman not going to be available to play at the start and the onset of the season. As for Klay Thompson, let's hope that he can get back to that form that he was at from 2014 to 2019 when he was a marksman from deep, he was a sniper from three-point range, and a great defensive player. These averages just great, 21.5 points per game. He shot 47% from the field during this time, 42+% from deep, and he was almost money at the charity stripe. Klay Thompson has said he wants to be a 50-40-90 guy. That means 50% field goals, 40% from deep, and he just has to get the free throw percentage up to 90. I think it's totally doable, even though he's coming off those injuries. And for James Wiseman, certainly an up-and-down campaign for him last year as a rookie. He clashed at times with Steve Kerr. He was in and out of the starting lineup. Of course, he suffered a couple of injuries, the latter being that knee injury, which allowed him, or caused him, I should say, to be lost for the rest of the year. 11.5 points per game as a rook, almost 6 boards, almost gave you a block per night as well, and connected on about 52% of his field goal attempts. It's my hope that Wiseman is able to extend his game out to the three-point arc, and if he does that, he is going to have a well-rounded game, and because of his athleticism and his length, it's going to be very hard to stop on that end of the floor. So what seed do you think the Warriors are going to get in the Western Conference? The West is truly going to be loaded this year. I mean, you have the Lakers, the Clippers, the Suns, the Nuggets, the Trailblazers, the Warriors. The list goes on and on and on of a deep and loaded Western Conference, I think the Warriors can go anywhere from 3 to 6. And even if they're at number 6, they could only be a game or two away from that 3 seed. That's how closely contested I see this conference being. Lay it down for me, though, 1 to 10 in the comments section. And make sure you subscribe to the channel for the best Warriors coverage right here on YouTube.